Alright guys, what is up? And today I'm coming at you with a deck profile and a deck that I've been working on for quite some time now and just been testing it online, both in real life against a couple different decks that my friends run. And that is my Zing deck. This deck's really cheap, or I say cheap, I mean a little bit more affordable than some of the other top decks right now. It's actually really good, especially once you can learn like all the different stuff you can play in it. But I've been playing this deck for quite about a month now, and I really gotta say this deck has so much fun. Just all the different combos you can do with it. Because I've actually had this deck just kind of sitting in my collection for a while now. And I wanted to build it a while back, but then actually came really close to selling it. And then I finally decided to test it out and realized how much fun this deck is and how crazy it can get sometimes. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the deck itself. It's just the main deck and extra deck. I don't really like to show side decks in my deck profile videos, just because I feel like if you're going to make a side deck, just make it of cards that will work against decks you're going to see at the big events you're going to, like say locals, regionals, or even just a fun tournament. So starting with the monsters, 3 Yugioh. Yugioh is just kind of one of the best cards to open up with in the deck. Because you can discard 2 Zing cards, especially summon 2 Zings from the deck, 1 with 0 defense and 1 with 0 attack. So you can just kind of instantly get you into some of your bigger synchros. Like say you would open up with this guy and 2 other Zings on the field, or in your hand. And then you would do his effect to discard 2, and then for your 0 defense target, you summon Tai. And then after that, you would summon Pulao. That's an instant level 8 synchro. So I really do enjoy just being able to do like all the crazy combos with him during your first turn. Also, he's a level 2 tuner, which really helps for going into different synchros. The next 2 copies of Chiwen, Lighty Zing. Chiwen kind of has like this, I want to call it like a Plague Spreader effect, but it's also kind of like Jet Synchron also. Just for the fact that whenever Zing controls destroyed by battle by card effect, you can special summon him from the graveyard, but banish him whenever he leaves the field. You can't get around that, but he's just there for a level 1 tuner, and that's basically it. And you can also just kind of stop that banishing effect. And plus he's just level 1 tuner, easy to summon back out of the graveyard, which is pretty great. Normally people run 3, I just kind of like him at 2. I have had a few games where I would need 3, but 2 is just kind of the comfortable number right now. If I find something else to take out for a 3rd, I'll probably do that, but for right now I'm just kind of comfortable with the way the main deck's built right now. And then 2 copies of Effect Veiler, just because it's a really great hand trap. Effect Negation's pretty awesome, and the fact you can also soul charge it back just to do more synchro summons is really awesome. And then for the non-tuners, 1 Tai, Shadow the Zing. For those of you who don't know, all the non-tuner Zings have similar effects. One being that you can synchro summon using it during your opponent's main phase or their battle phase. And also, whenever they're used as a synchro material, the synchro monster that they're used to synchro summon gets some sort of like boost or immunity. And the one that Tai gives is that your opponent can't take control of the synchro monster, which is alright, but the only really matchups it kind of helps up against is basically Gradles and the occasional deck that might run, say, Goyo Guardian or 101. But Tai, you really only need to run 1, because if you open up with this guy, it sucks. Just because I've actually had to sit there and try and tribute summon for him or discard him to the graveyard with different card effects. But you really just want to have this guy in deck ready to bring out with one of your Zing card effects, or bring out with the Zing creation. And plus he's level 5, and he helps you get into some of those higher level synchros a lot easier. The next 3 Suwani, Fire the Zing. Zings can just really deal with the grind game really easy. Suwani kind of helps with that, because if you kind of open up with like all monsters, and you don't have one of your Zing creations or one of your floodgates, Suwani kind of helps with that, just because he's a nice 1900 beat stick, and you can just summon him and start running over cards of your opponent. Doesn't exactly have their board established. And Suwani basically just gives your synchro monster a 500 attack point boost, which kind of helps. On the next 2 Beyond Earth of the Zing. Beyond into Heritable Arclight is just nuts. Because pretty much Beyond gives the synchro monster immunity to being destroyed by battle. And there's a little block I'll go into later with Heritable Arclight. But Beyond with 1600 attacks, alright, and 2 just seems pretty comfortable, because you don't really see yourself needing 3, because having your Zings, your synchros being destroyed by battle doesn't hurt you too bad, honestly. So just 2's pretty comfortable. The next 3, Bixie, Water the Yang Zing. Bixie is just like one of the guys you basically have to run 3 of. Because whenever it's used as a synchro material, the synchro monster is unaffected by traps. And this into Beals, or some of your other bigger synchro monsters I'll get into later, is just really, really great. And against certain matchups where the decks are like really reliant on traps for their kind of just card removal, that just kind of really messes up their day. Then 1, Pulau, Wind of the Yang Zing. Some people don't even run Pulau at all. I kind of see myself just needing 1 from time to time, just for the extra level 1 option to go into some bigger synchros. Also, the fact that he's a wind attribute comes into like a little combo, or I guess another lock I'll get into later. So that basically wraps it up for the monsters. Moving on to the spells, 2 copies of Yang Zing Path. Some people kind of criticize this just because you typically see Yang Zing decks running 3 of these. I prefer 2 just from my personal experience with the deck. Running 3 just got way too cloggy, and I always opened up with it or saw it within the first few turns when I didn't actually need it. But for those of you who don't know, Yang Zing Path is basically a pot of avarice for your Yang Zings. You shuffle 3 back in the deck and draw 2 cards. So it gets you some of those monsters back in the deck. You just want to special summon back with some card effects later. And just reuse them to make your synchros and give your synchros another boost. But 2 is just pretty comfortable for me. 1 would just seem like very underwhelming, because sometimes you do need multiples, and you want to see it a little bit quicker, but not like as quickly as possible. The next 2 copies of Dark Hole. This card's just kind of a given if you're building Yang Zings, because like I said, they die, their effects go off whenever they're destroyed by battle by card effects, so why not efficiently use this to get your Yang Zings in the graveyard to get their effects to go off while also removing your opponent's monsters. So Dark Hole is just kind of like one of those cards you really want to run in Yang Zings just to kind of make your big pushes. The 1 copy of Raigeki, voice crack there for a little bit. But Raigeki is just kind of there for once you want to make like a really big push, like you have all of your synchros kind of set up on the field, and your opponent has cards on the field you just want to get rid of so you can make more damage. You just drop a Raigeki and start attacking. The 1 copy of Soul Charge, kind of just a really, really great card in this deck. Skipping your battle phase isn't that big of a deal, honestly, from time to time. That's just kind of there to, once you make one of your big synchro plays, you can drop a Soul Charge, pay a couple 1,000 life points, and then just make another synchro and kind of lock your opponent out of certain plays. And the next 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, just for those annoying speller traps. Vanity's Emptiness and Royal Decree come to mind, because Royal Decree stops your Yang Zing creation, which really sucks. And also, if you do see the occasional Phoenix Chain on your synchros, it kind of gets rid of that, because there are a couple of different cards that can mess up your deck, and you kind of just play MST for that reason. The next 2 copies of Pot of Duality just adds a little bit of extra consistency of the deck, and the fact that your non-tuners let you synchro summon during your opponent's turn just kind of lets you efficiently use that effect, because not being able to special summon during your turn just doesn't really hurt the deck that much. And this is a personal tech of mine I've tried out for a little bit, and I actually really do enjoy the way it's worked out. But 2 copies of Magic Planner, because this deck does play a lot of continuous traps, because normally in your typical Yang Zing decks you see a main decking a lot of floodgates, and most floodgates are usually continuous traps. And once you've kind of gotten your, basically your money's worth out of those continuous traps on the field, you can just drop Magic Planner and just get rid of them to draw 2 cards. So that's pretty great. Moving on to the traps, kind of the standard triple Yang Zing creation. If you can resolve 1 or even multiples of these, it's nuts. Just kind of makes it to where whenever one of your Yang Zings is destroyed by battle or card effect, you special summon another one from the deck. If you have multiples of these, it stacks. So if one of your Yang Zings dies, its effect goes off along with your Yang Zing creation. Especially if it's 2, like say Jiao 2 dies, you can special summon 1 with its effect, and then 2 more with your Yang Zing creation. So it's like instantly making your higher level synchros just nuts. If this does die in the battle during the game, it kind of sucks, but if it resolves, then you can basically make your big synchros and push, and your opponent can't really deal with them. The next 2 copies of Imperial Iron Wall, this kind of gets around the Chi when banishing itself by its own effect. Also works as a floodgate in certain matchups, like Cosmos, Infernoids, and to some extent Cyframes. It stops the bigger guys. But this just kind of really helps as a Magic Planner target, and of floodgate to kind of slow down your opponent's plays while you can make your plays a lot safer. And the next 2 copies of Oasis of Dragon Souls, I kind of prefer this over Call of the Haunted, just for the fact that you can use it defensively, where Call of the Haunted has to bring the monster out in attack position, and this brings it out in defense. Reason being, like, the way I typically use this is if my opponent's going to attack me directly, and say I have a Yang Zing engrave, like, say, Beyond, for example. You activate the Oasis of Dragon Souls, and this brings the monster out in defense, whereas Call of the Haunted brings it out in attack. My opponent was going to attack directly. I summon this. If they attack into it, Beyond would die, and then I could special summon another Yang Zing from the deck. And if you have a creation on the field, it's like you instantly make one of your other synchros. So that's kind of why I preferred over Call of the Haunted. I did try it originally with Call of the Haunted and Oasis of Dragon Souls. I just got way too cloggy running 4 continuous traps that basically did the same thing. But just kind of get down to 2 Oasis Dragon Souls and no Call of the Haunted kind of helps in my opinion. But if you want to run Call of the Haunted, that's fine. I just kind of prefer Oasis in my opinion. The next 2 copies of Fiendish Chain. There's a couple of fun little combos you can do with this. It's mainly just for those monster effects that kind of want to wipe out your back row. Because like I said, getting rid of your Yang Zing creations doesn't hurt. It just kind of sucks. But there's some combos you can do with, or one of my favorite combos I'll get into later. The next one, Torrential Tribute, kind of the same thing as Call of the Haunted. Your opponent tries to summon something, you kill off all your Yang Zings, their effects will go off, and then you can make a synchro during their main phase. And with creation, it just makes it even better. The one, Skill Drain, just another flood deck Yang Zings can main deck and abuse. Then moving on to the extra deck, of course, since Yang Zing Creation's effect does say you can't special summon extra deck monsters except for synchro monsters, we're going to play an all synchro extra deck. And of course you want to have all different kinds of options because there's a lot of different levels for Yang Zings and just different guys you can make. Starting off for our level 4, 1 Herald of Arclight. Like I said, this made with Beyond is dumb, especially with some of your bigger synchros like Beals. Or some of your other bigger guys like Chao Fang or Yazi. You can just sit on this with the other one on the field and just kind of basically lock your opponent out of playing the game. Because Herald, whenever he can't destroy by battle, you just sit on him in defense. And that just makes it really great. If they try to activate something, you can just tribute him and negate it. And he's also a Macrocosmos while he's on the field. And then for the level 5s, 1 Armades. Armades is pretty good just because you don't really have to make him with Bix or Pulau, because you don't have to worry about him. But I really just like making him with Beyond, because he can't be destroyed by battle, and by his own effect, he can't be responded to whenever he attacks or is attacked. So make him with a Beyond and Zhao 2 is just really, really great. And the next one, Ally of Justice, Catastor. Catastor's alright, it's just I kind of want to make room for a Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, and I should have one coming in the middle hopefully soon, so this is going to come out once I get it. Catastor kind of helps just because there aren't really too many decks that use a lot of dark monsters. But you can just summon this guy and just kind of attack over him, kind of get those off the board a lot quicker. It's a cheaper option, but if you just want to like go for a better build, I'd prefer Red Dragon Archfiend over this. Or any other Red Dragon Archfiend synchros for that matter. And then for our level 6, 1 Vulcan the Divine. This is the guy I was talking about. You can do the combo with Fiendish Chain. Like, say, you're going up against heroes and your opponent mass changes into Master Hero Acid and you have a Fiendish Chain set. You flip the Fiendish Chain, negate its effects, you get to keep your back row. And then after that you synchro summon into a Vulcan the Divine, bounce the Fiendish Chain back to bounce another card on their field back to their hand. And then you have the Fiendish Chain in hand, so then you reset it. And I really like doing this combo with my Black Wings also. But the Vulcan the Divine, he's just kind of there for just basically spinning cards back to the deck that you just kind of have trouble with. And some people ask from time to time, why don't you run Goyo Guardian instead of Vulcan the Divine? Just because Goyo Guardian can kill their monsters, you can bring them over to your side of the field and synchro summon with them. Granted, that's better. I just kind of like the Vulcan the Divine better just because he can help remove annoying cards on the field I just don't want to deal with. That's just kind of why I basically run him over Goyo Guardian. And then for our level 7s, 1 Yazi, Evil of the Yang Zing. Yazi up against Burning Abyss, made with a Bixie, is just nuts. Because on his own, he can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects. And then he has a Scrap Dragon effect where he can tribute Yang Zing, destroy a card on your opponent's side of the field, and you can even tribute himself. And then whenever he's sent to the graveyard by battle by card effect, you can special summon a worm from the deck. So it's really, really awesome just to kind of sit on this guy, start beating him down with the 2600 beat stick. And you can summon more Yang Zings, tribute them, destroy a card on the field, and then their effect would go up, bringing you out another Yang Zing. So it just kind of generates a lot more advantage. And also kind of a really solid monster that your opponent just kind of has to really think to get around. The next one, Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Just kind of there for Cosmos, just because of his first effect. You can just sit there and get rid of the big guys whenever they activate their effects. But any other big level 5 or higher monster, you can just easily just summon this guy. And then they try to activate their effect, you can just tell them nope, get rid of it. And then also he gets an attack boost until the end of the turn. And then lastly, one Black Rose Dragon, just because your opponent has a good board setup. You can just Synchro Summon into it, and then basically get rid of their board. And then for the level 8s, 2 Baxia, Brightness of the Yang Zing. Baxia, whenever he's Synchro Summoned, you can compulse, or basically bounce back cards your opponent controls up to the number of different attributes of Yang Zings used for his Synchro Summon. And then also he kind of has another Scrap Dragon effect where you can destroy one level 4 monster, one level 4 lower monster on your side of the field, destroy it, and then special summon one from the graveyard. So he's just kind of there to where you summon him and just kind of get rid of your opponent's board. Honestly, it's really why you play 2 of them, because sometimes you can make 2. And plus he's a nice 2300 beater, which is alright. Making this with Suwani and some other guys is just really, really awesome. And the next one, Start a Spark Dragon. Just again, more protection for Yang Zings. Make this with some of your other guys. You can just sit there and protect himself or protect your other guys. Then one Beals of the Diabolic Dragons. This guy's just kind of a given in the Yang Zing extra deck just because of his own built-in immunity to battle or card effects, and making him with a Bixie is nuts. Just because on his own, not being able to be destroyed by battle or by card effects is really awesome, and also making him immune to traps, which is even better. And making him with Bixie, Suwani, and Jiaotu is like typically how I make him, to where he gets a 500 point boost, immune to traps, and you can just start beating him down with 3500. And then for the level 9s, one Chaofeng, Phantom of the Yang Zing. This guy is busted. Because this is where the one Pulau comes into play. What he does is up to the number of different Yang Zing attributes used for a Synchro Summon. Your opponent can't activate monster effects whose monsters share the same attribute as the ones you summoned. Now, I made this up against one of my friends playing Cyframe Yosenju's. And all I had to do was make this guy with a Pulau and a Chiwen, and it basically locked him out of playing the deck. Because Chaofeng, in the right games, once you make him with the right Yang Zings, it just kind of locks your opponent out. And then also, whenever he destroys a monster by battle, you can special summon a Yang Zing with the same attribute as the monster you just destroyed. So, like, say you kill a fire monster with Chaofeng, sorry, had to burp. But basically, Chaofeng would kill like a fire monster, you special summon your Suwani. You kill a wind monster, you summon Pulau. You kill a water one, you summon Bixie, and so on and so forth. Then one Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Just kind of a big blowout card. You just summon him and basically banish 3 cards. It's kind of self-explanatory. And the one Leo, Keeper of the Sacred Tree, is kind of in the same situation as Beals, just his own built-in immunity. Plus the boost from the Yang Zings just makes it even better. Because a nice 3100, I almost said 13. Nice 3100 body that can't be targeted by card effects except during main phase 2. And the fact that he's a high level, you can already tell he's going to get like different boosts from your smaller level Yang Zings to go into him. Just makes him a really, really great card to Synchro Summon into. And then last but not least, we have one Star Eater to kind of go with the mat. And also kind of the same thing as Armadi. He's just a big guy that can't be responded to whenever he summons or attacks. Just make him really, really great. And the fact that he's unaffected by the card effects until the end of the damage step just makes him a big, massive wall your opponent just kind of can't deal with during the battle phase. So you just summon him and proceed to beat them down with a giant dragon. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. I really do enjoy this deck so much, especially for all the different Synchro Summons you can make in this deck. But let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Yang Zings, I really do enjoy them, and I might be updating this at a later time with Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, maybe a couple of other cards, who knows. But thanks for watching, and as always, I will catch you guys later.